Welcome to the Allison Knows podcast. Today we're diving into something really creating a buzz lately, and that's the rise of free AI tools, what they mean for content creators just like you.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating to see, especially with this new large language model, DeepSeek. It was developed in China, and it's really kind of challenging some of those big names out there, like ChatGPT, for example.
Definitely. And, you sent us a really interesting collection of sources for this.
I did.
We have a briefing document based on this YouTube video by a creator named Nikki, a comparative analysis of DeepSeek and ChatGPT. And we even have, get this, a study guide with quiz questions about DeepSeek. So we're going to unpack all of this today, explore, the key differences between these AI tools and what they could mean for your content creation process.
It really is interesting, especially when you consider this. DeepSeek is being offered completely free.
Wow.
Whereas ChatGPT, at least for the more advanced features, is subscription-based. So it really has sparked a lot of conversation about, are we seeing a potential shift in the landscape of AI?
Absolutely. And Nikki, the content creator whose briefing document we have, she dives right into the hype surrounding DeepSeek in her video, DeepSeek versus ChatGPT. Why is everyone using this free AI tool? And she even claims that some are calling it superior to ChatGPT, at least in certain areas. And this is all despite being developed with a fraction of the resources.
It's a pretty big claim when you think about it. The reports are saying that DeepSeek was created with around $5 million. Compare that to the billion that was invested in ChatGPT, it's quite a difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Makes you think they're using a much leaner, perhaps more agile development approach, which could potentially disrupt, that traditional landscape of AI, the one dominated by large tech companies.
It's like David and Goliath in the AI world, right?
Yeah.
But even being the new kid on the block, well, that comes with its own challenges. Nikki actually points that out. She experienced some technical difficulties when she was trying to demo DeepSeek live for her viewers. High traffic seemed to be causing a bunch of service interruptions.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, when you have new tech, especially in a field that is rapidly evolving like AI, that scalability, that reliability, that's really crucial for widespread adoption, even if the technology itself is groundbreaking.
So it seems like they're still working out the kinks. But that didn't stop Nikki from highlighting some key differences
No, not at all.
between DeepSeek and ChatGPT, based on her research.
One of the most notable things is DeepSeek's strength, particularly when it comes to reasoning capabilities. Some users are saying it even surpasses ChatGPT's paid version when it comes to certain tasks.
Wow. But DeepSeek does have some limitations, right?
It does.
It can't generate images like ChatGPT can.
That's right, yeah. And ChatGPT also offers some other features that you won't find in DeepSeek, things like custom GPTs, task automation through its operator feature, and even voice interaction. So it seems like DeepSeek really focused on optimizing that core language model for reasoning. Maybe that's because of the limited resources, whereas ChatGPT has kind of branched out a little bit more.
So it sounds like, if you're a content creator who really relies on visuals, then ChatGPT might still be the better option, at least for now. But if you're mainly working with text-based content and you really need that powerful reasoning engine,
DeepSeek could be the way to go.
DeepSeek could be a good choice.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see these different approaches, right?
It is. It is. And another big difference you want to keep in mind is the data. The data that each model is trained on.
Oh, right, yeah.
ChatGPT, it's been around longer, so it's trained on a much larger, much more diverse data set. And that includes information all the way up to the present day. DeepSeek, as we know it, appears to be working with data only up to October 2023.
So that could be a limiting factor for certain tasks. It's like having access to, a library, but with different collections.
That's a really good analogy.
So ChatGPT has that extensive, up-to-date library, but DeepSeek's collection may be smaller, more focused.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like choosing the right library for your needs.
Right.
You've got to pick the right AI tool based on the information you're after and the task you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Now, let's not forget about how these AI tools can actually impact content creation workflows.
Yeah.
Nikki, in her video, she shared some really clever ways she's using ChatGPT to just, boost her productivity in her content creation overall.
Oh, yeah. One of the most impressive things that she showed was ChatGPT's ability to just automate tasks.
Oh, wow.
She set up these recurring actions, daily content ideas, research summaries, and even script generation. Imagine that. Having an AI assistant that just works tirelessly behind the scenes, fueling that creative process.
It's like having, a superpowered intern that never needs a coffee break.
Exactly.
But while those features are amazing, you brought up a really practical point too, If you've already got a workflow established, it might not be worth a hassle to switch to a new tool.
Yeah, unless it can really integrate with your existing systems.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in shiny new tech, but you gotta remember practicality and efficiency. Those are key for any workflow.
Couldn't agree more. And before we move on, I just want to remind our listeners to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might find it valuable. You can also join us on Spotify and YouTube for more deep dives into the topics that matter most to you. Now, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some specific content creation strategies that Nikki shared in her video. And these are things that you, as a listener, can use. They can help you elevate your content, capture audience attention, regardless of which AI tools you're using. Because what she really emphasizes is that while AI can be a powerful tool, it's important to not rely solely on it for content creation.
Absolutely. That human creativity, that strategic thinking, it's still essential for crafting compelling content. And Nikki actually highlights a range of practical tips, from leveraging trending video editing techniques to crafting attention-grabbing hooks. These are things that'll stop viewers right in their scroll.
And one thing she really emphasizes is the use of black and white filters, zooming in at just the right moments and using quick cuts to create a more dynamic visual experience.
It really is effective, because it helps break up that monotony and adds a visual interest that just keeps people hooked.
And she also shared some, well, I guess you could say bold and controversial hook strategies, ones that are designed to get viewers curious, even if it means kind of maybe polarizing a portion of the audience. And one example was the, "I'm so sorry, but no amount of money could make me do X" hook. And that's where you make, a seemingly outrageous statement to just grab attention.
It's risky. There's no doubt about that. But it can be incredibly effective if it's done right. You really got to know your audience and your brand and whether that kind of hook is going to resonate or backfire. And another hook strategy she mentioned was the if you're X and you still do Y, you need to Z formula. And that's where you kind of call out a specific behavior or belief and then challenge viewers to reconsider their actions.
And this kind of hook, it can be really effective for content that's aiming to educate, inspire, provoke change, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's all about challenging assumptions and sparking that critical thinking in your audience. But regardless of the hook, you got to make sure you follow through with content that provides genuine value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of genuine value, Nikki had some really good tips about research. She suggests leveraging existing data, like turning top-performing videos in your industry into content ideas. So you're analyzing what's already working, and then you tap into that existing audience interest and tailor your content accordingly.
It's almost like reverse engineering success. Instead of starting from scratch, you're building on something that's already proven, those concepts that are resonating with your target audience.
Right. It's a super smart approach. And she stresses something else, too. Being prepared if your content goes viral. You need to have a clear customer journey mapped out, robust back-end systems to handle all that increased traffic, and fulfilling products or services ready to go. It's not enough to just go viral. You need to be able to capitalize on it.
Absolutely. You got to be ready. Virality can be a double-edged sword. It can bring amazing exposure. But if you're not prepared, it can overwhelm you really quickly. You need to have those systems in place so you can convert that attention into real engagement and results.
Now, Nikki also observed a really fascinating trend. I think it speaks to this whole idea of authenticity, and that's in influencer marketing. She pointed to DJ Khaled. Now, he was a huge influencer on Snapchat, but it seems like things are changing.
Right. What's interesting is that she noticed brands like Air Jordan, they're focusing more on creating a compelling product, a compelling packaging experience, one that, it kind of outshines even a big name influencer like DJ Khaled. So it suggests that maybe we're moving towards like a more product-centric approach where authenticity and quality are taking center stage.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, our product's so good, it doesn't even need a celebrity endorsement to shine.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, we don't need DJ Khaled. Look how good our product is.
Yeah, and I think brands are realizing that, consumers are getting smarter, they're more discerning, they're not as easily swayed by endorsements anymore.
They're looking for genuine value, looking for quality. It's not enough to just slap a famous face on a product and expect it to fly off the shelf.
Exactly. You got to deliver. You got to create an exceptional experience if you want to capture and keep audience attention. And you got to back it up with quality.
And speaking of authenticity, Nikki really emphasized a point that's often overlooked in content creation. It's the importance of letting your audience connect with you on a personal level, not just as a brand or an expert. You have to show your real side, let your personality shine through.
And she used a great example of that. Wall Street Trapper, he's a financial expert, but on podcasts, he's much more relaxed, more conversational. Compare that to like his more performance-driven persona on other platforms.
Yeah, it's a really good illustration of how, like, showing a little vulnerability, a little personality can make you more relatable, more trustworthy to your audience.
It's like you're inviting people into your living room for a chat instead of giving a presentation from behind a podium.
Now, in addition to creating fresh content, Nikki talked about something else that's super valuable, and that's repurposing content.
Yeah. Specifically, her live content corner series. She's actually thinking about transforming it into a podcast.
It's a good idea. Podcasts are only growing in popularity, and then you have platforms like Spotify actively promoting video podcasts.
Yeah, it's like you're breathing new life into existing content, sharing it with a fresh audience who might prefer that format.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to maximize the value of your creative efforts, to get more mileage out of the content you've already created. And she's not alone.
No, not at all. I think we're going to see more and more creators repurposing their content for different platforms, different formats, just to reach that wider audience.
Absolutely. It's a strategy that works for anybody, no matter your industry or niche. Think about it. Think about how you could repurpose what you've already made, reach new audiences, maximize the impact of your content. It's really great advice. And speaking of reaching new audiences, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might find it valuable. You can also join us on Spotify and YouTube for more deep dives into the topics that matter most to you. Now, with all this talk about AI, content creation, and influencer marketing, I think it's really important to take a step back and acknowledge the absolutely crucial role of critical thinking, especially in navigating the digital landscape.
It's easy to get caught up in the latest trends, especially with so much information out there, so many options, new AI tools popping up all the time. But you gotta have those strong critical thinking skills. Question assumptions, challenge biases, evaluate sources, and always look for multiple perspectives.
Exactly. Don't just take everything at face value. Do your research, ask those questions, form your own well-informed opinions.
That's what we try to do here on The Deep Dive, to help you develop those skills, to help you navigate the digital world with confidence and discernment.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, from DeepSeek, practical content creation strategies, and the importance of authenticity.
This is just the beginning.
It is.
Stay tuned for part 2. We're going to go even deeper into DeepSeek and ChatGPT, looking at their specific advantages and disadvantages. And we'll explore a few more content creation strategies that can help you stand out in this ever-evolving digital landscape. But before we get there, there's one more really important point we need to discuss, and you definitely don't want to miss this. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Before we left off, we were talking about critical thinking in this age of AI and how important it is, with all this information. It's crucial to approach new tools and new trends with a healthy dose of skepticism. Do your own research before just jumping on the bandwagon.
Exactly. You can't just assume every new shiny AI tool is going to be a game changer or that every viral trend is something you need to follow. You got to evaluate it all critically.
You got it. Decide what makes sense for you, for your own needs and your own goals.
Right.
And this brings us back to the main topic, this rise of free AI tools like DeepSeek. What do they actually mean for content creators? We've gone over some of the differences between DeepSeek and ChatGPT, but I think it's worth going a little bit deeper into the advantages and disadvantages of each platform.
Yeah, let's break it down, see what each one has to offer. What are some of the standout advantages of DeepSeek?
Well, the biggest one right now, and we touched on this a bit earlier, is that it's free.
Right.
That makes it really attractive, especially for creators who are just starting out or maybe working with a limited budget, or even if you're just hesitant to commit to a paid subscription.
It really lowers the barrier to entry for anyone who just wants to try out these AI tools and see how it can change their process.
Exactly. It's like a free trial that never ends.
Right.
But aside from the cost, DeepSeek is getting a lot of attention for how powerful its reasoning capabilities are. Users are saying it really excels in tasks that require, logical thinking, analysis, problem solving. And this could be huge for those creators who need to do research, analyze data, generate content that's insightful, goes beyond just surface level information.
So if you're the kind of person who needs an AI tool to help you think critically and really delve deeper into more complex subjects, DeepSeek might be worth checking out.
Absolutely. But it's also important to remember its limitations.
Right.
We mentioned this before. It doesn't have some of the features that ChatGPT has. Image generation, custom GPTs, task automation.
Yeah, and those features are really useful for creators who are trying to streamline their workflows,
Yeah.
create more engaging content. So if those features are essential to what you do, then maybe ChatGPT is still the better option, even with a subscription fee.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to figuring out what your priorities are and then evaluating which tool aligns best with how you create content, how you work. And then another thing to think about, the data.
The data.
The data that each model is trained on. ChatGPT, it's the more mature product. It's been trained on a much bigger, more diverse data set that gives it a broader knowledge base. It has a more up-to-date understanding of current events, of trends. DeepSeek, as we know, it's limited to information that was available only up to October 2023.
So if you're working on something that needs the most up-to-date info, ChatGPT might be the way to go. But for more general knowledge, reasoning tasks, DeepSeek could still be a really valuable tool.
Absolutely. And it's worth pointing out that both DeepSeek and ChatGPT, they're constantly evolving.
That's true.
So limitations that exist today, well, they might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be a content creator. You have all these incredible tools at your disposal that can help you research, brainstorm, write, even automate certain tasks.
It's true, it's true. But you can't forget AI. It's just a tool.
Right.
It's not meant to replace human creativity, critical thinking. You still need to be able to connect with your audience on a personal level.
That's so important. AI can help us. It can augment our skills, enhance our creativity, but it can't replicate that human touch that really makes content engaging,
Mm.
impactful. We still need to bring our own perspectives, our own experiences, our emotions to the table.
Well said, well said. Now, I know we've been focusing a lot on these AI tools, but I want to switch gears just for a minute and go back to some of those content creation strategies that Nikki shared in her video. Tips and techniques that can help you create better content, regardless of whether you're using AI or not.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's so easy to get swept up in the hype of new tech and forget about, just good content creation.
Right.
Nikki's insights are valuable no matter what tools you use.
That's right.
One thing she emphasized was creating a compelling visual experience, especially for video content. Using techniques like black and white filters, zooming in on those key moments, using quick cuts to make it more dynamic, more engaging.
They're effective techniques because they help break up the monotony, they add a visual interest, and that keeps viewers hooked.
And she also talked about using bold hooks, maybe even a little controversial, to really grab attention, even if it means, potentially turning off a small part of your audience. Like one example was the "I'm so sorry, but no amount of money could make me do X" hook, where you make a statement that's a little outrageous, to spark curiosity and get people talking.
Yeah, that is a risky strategy, but it can be incredibly effective. You really need to understand your audience and be confident that the statement is going to resonate with them, even if it's provocative.
And another hook she mentioned was the "if you're X and you still do Y, you need to Z formula." You call out a specific behavior or belief and challenge the viewer to reconsider their actions.
That kind of hook can be really effective for content that's designed to educate, inspire, or even provoke change. It's all about challenging assumptions and encouraging that critical thinking. But again, you have to follow through. You got to provide genuine value. You got to provide insights.
You can't just rely on a catchy hook. You
Yeah.
got to deliver on the promise.
Yeah.
Give them something informative, entertaining, or otherwise valuable.
Exactly. Speaking of value, Nikki talked about using research, and I think that's so important for your content creation process. She recommends that you analyze top-performing content in your industry, to figure out what trends, what themes, what topics are resonating with your audience.
It's like reverse engineering success.
Yeah.
Instead of starting from scratch, you're building on these proven concepts that have already been successful.
That's right. It's a smart way to do it, an efficient way to make sure that your content is relevant, engaging, and something that people will actually want to watch.
Now, I want to touch on another point that Nikki made that I think is incredibly important, and that is authenticity. She talked about how important it is to show your real side, to let your personality come through in your content.
Oh, I think that's so true. In a world where everyone's trying to present this perfect image of themselves online, it's refreshing to see someone who's genuine, relatable, someone who isn't afraid to show a little vulnerability.
Yeah, and she used the example of Wall Street Trapper, the financial expert we were talking about earlier. He's much more relaxed and conversational on his podcast compared to his other
Yet
platforms.
a great example of how, dropping your guard a little can make you more relatable and trustworthy.
It's like you're inviting your audience into your living room for a chat instead of delivering a formal presentation.
Exactly. It's about connecting with people on a human level.
Now, before we move on, I just want to remind our listeners to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might find it valuable. You can also join us on Spotify and YouTube for more deep dives into the topics that matter most to you. We're about to get into some fascinating insights from Nikki about how influencer marketing is changing, so you definitely don't want to miss this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about authenticity and how important it is for content creators. And, Nikki, the creator whose work we've been discussing, she really emphasizes this in her video.
Yeah, it's so important. In a world where everything's so polished, so perfect online, authenticity really does stand out. It's how you connect with people on a deeper level, how you build trust and create those loyal followers.
And speaking of building a following, Nikki shared some interesting thoughts about, influencer marketing, how it's changing. She talked about DJ Khaled, who was huge on Snapchat, but things seem to be shifting.
What's interesting is that she's noticed brands like Air Jordan, they're kind of moving away from relying on just big name influencers.
You're
Right.
focusing more on the product, the packaging, creating an experience that stands on its own.
It's like you're saying, our product is so good, it speaks for itself. They're realizing that consumers are changing too. They're not as easily swayed by those flashy endorsements.
They want real value. They want quality.
Exactly. So, influencer marketing, it's not going away, but brands have to adapt. It's not enough to just throw money at a celebrity and expect results. You have to create something exceptional, something that connects with your audience.
Something genuine.
Exactly.
It's a big trend we're seeing, this demand for more transparency, more authentic experiences.
Absolutely. And Nikki also highlighted something else that's super important, and that's being prepared for virality.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It's something every creator dreams of. But it can also be a lot to handle if you're not ready. She stresses having a clear customer journey planned out, having those back-end systems in place to deal with all the traffic, and of course, having your products or services ready to go. It's not just about going viral, it's about what you do when you get there. You have to be able to capitalize on it, turn that attention into results.
That's such a good point. It's like if you suddenly have a ton of people show up to your party, you got to be ready. You got to have enough food, drink, space. You want everyone to have a good time.
Right. If not, it's just going to be chaotic.
Exactly. So being prepared for virality, it means you can leverage that surge of interest, make it a positive experience for everyone.
Absolutely. Now, let's switch gears for a minute. Nikki also talked about repurposing content in her video, specifically her live Content Corner series. She's thinking about turning it into a podcast.
I think that's a smart move.
Yeah.
Podcasts are so popular right now, and you have platforms like Spotify actually promoting video podcast.
Yeah, it's like you're giving your content a whole new life, reaching a new audience who might prefer that format.
Right. Instead of just sitting in the archives, you can breathe new life into it.
Exactly. And with video podcasts becoming more popular, it gives creators even more options for engaging their audience.
Yeah, it's such an exciting time to be a content creator. There are so many possibilities, so many ways to connect with your audience. But it can also be a bit overwhelming with all the options, all the information coming at you.
You got to have those critical thinking skills. Don't just accept everything you see. You got to question, you got to challenge, evaluate your sources, and always try to see things from different perspectives.
It's like having this mental filter that helps you sort through all the noise and figure out what's really important, what's relevant to you.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive, giving you the tools, the insights to navigate the digital landscape with confidence.
So we've talked a lot about AI, content creation, influencer marketing. What are some of the key things our listeners should remember?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there's so much opportunity out there right now. When it comes to content creation, tools like DeepSeek and ChatGPT, they're becoming more accessible. New platforms are popping up all the time. And that gives you new ways to connect with people and share your message.
It's amazing. But with all that opportunity, you got to remember to use these tools wisely.
Ethically.
You got it. AI, it's a tool. It's not a replacement for human creativity. It's up to us to use these tools to enhance our skills, reach more people, and create content that's actually impactful.
And we can't forget about authenticity. With everything being so perfect online, it's the genuine voices, the relatable ones that really stand out.
Be yourself. Share your story. Connect with your audience. That's what will make a lasting impact. That's how you build a following that sticks around.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try out new tools, explore new platforms, see what works for you. That's the beauty of content creation. There's no one right way to do it.
That's a great way to put it. Be curious, be creative, and be authentic.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might find it valuable. You can also join us on Spotify and YouTube for more deep dives into the topics that matter most to you. Thank you for listening to the Allison Knows podcast. Follow Allison on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.